Wednesday morning, I'm meteorologist Quaylen Murphy with your Wednesday, August 23rd Tropics Update. We're focused right now on the Atlantic bays and, of course, and the Atlantic Ocean proper. We have Tropical Storm Gaston. This system likely to become a hurricane later on today, but this is not the center of focus. We're looking at Invest 99L, not yet named, but an 80% chance within the next 5 days that this system could become a tropical depression today or tomorrow. Actually, a 60% chance issued by the National Hurricane Center for the next 2 days. Here's an overall rundown of this system. If it becomes a tropical storm, it'll take on that H name, Hermine. This week, we do expect impacts through the Caribbean and the Bahamas, potential for some impacts for southern Florida by the weekend. The uncertainty remains, though, for the Gulf of Mexico. It's still too early to call, but in the meantime, we're watching. You should be watching as well. Stay informed with all your WDSU apps. Meteorologists here, we're always watching those forecast models. Of course, stay calm and do what you can do, which is check those supplies for that hurricane preparedness plan. Have that in place. Next week is the potential for some impacts. It's still way too early to tell. We need a center of circulation on this system. The National Hurricane Center did not find one yesterday when the hurricane hunters went in. They're sending another hunter in at 10 o'clock Central Time. So, of course, we'll get you that information as it becomes available. In the meantime, watching for potential tropical depression, as I mentioned, today or tomorrow. Latest stats on Invest 99L. Central winds 35 miles per hour, moving west-northwest at 20 miles per hour. Yesterday, as I mentioned, we did not find a center of circulation, but we are starting to see some more showers and storms developing around this system, and that's very much evident with our visible satellite imagery here. When you start to see those textured cloud tops, that means we are seeing better rain and storm chances and better shower and storm activity. This is working over the Leeward Islands, as you can see, but still a threat for some heavy rainfall for Puerto Rico, whether or not the system develops by that time. Here's a look at our forecast model ensembles, our spaghetti plots. Notice we do have some consistency here through the Bahamas, but we also have some models starting to spread out here. Some as we get towards the tail end, taking the system into the Gulf of Mexico, others keeping it on the eastern side of Florida. That's where we run into the complexities and all of the questions. They still arise there. So again, we don't have a center yet. It's hard to draw those initial forecast opportunities because we need the data. So that's why we need to get that center of circulation. Here's one model. This is the GFS output. And notice as we get into Sunday and Monday of next week, we're still looking at mainly impacts around Florida and parts of the east coast of the United States. This takes us through Thursday, September 1st. The same time frame, however, with a different forecast model clearly shows that we have potentially some impacts around the Gulf of Mexico, maybe even making potential impacts around western parts of Louisiana, parts of Texas, and even into northern Louisiana by next week. Two different totally forecast outputs and potential, which is why it's hard to give a forecast on this current setup. So if anybody tries to tell you they know exactly what's going to happen with this system, that certainly is not the case. We just can't do it at this time. We do have some dry air. This is one feature or element that could help to break up the system just a bit, but that dry air working to the west. Another feature, geographically or topographically speaking, that could tear up the system is the mountainous terrain we find around Haiti. 10,000-foot mountaintop ranges there. So we'll have to see if the system can survive that track as well. Also, water temperatures plenty conducive for tropical development. We find those mid to upper 80s around the Gulf Stream, close to 90 degrees. And then, of course, the big bathtub here in the Gulf of Mexico, 87 to 89 degrees, those water temperatures. So, I mean, it's not ideal that we get something to develop around the Gulf because it certainly has that heat potential. In terms of rainfall through the next 7 days, this is the GFS output into Monday morning. And actually, we do have the potential here for 5, possibly 8+ inches of rain around Florida. That's just through the next 7 days. Thereafter, some of our other model indications are that there's some more rainfall heaping up around parts of Louisiana. Lots to watch, and that's the bottom line here. Of course, we'll continue to keep you connected and posted on all of the latest information on the tropics. Now back to Gaston, tropical storm, 70 miles per hour, moving west-northwest at 17. Again, again, Gaston, not going to impact any land in the immediate, maybe some impacts for Bermuda, but that won't happen until later on next week. Right now, it stays mainly to the east. The big steering current for all of these systems, high pressure out here in the Atlantic Ocean, that clockwise flow allows for that steering current, those winds pushing those systems to the west. Elsewhere in the Atlantic Basin, that includes the Caribbean Sea, the Gulf of Mexico closer to home, things are nice and quiet, so we don't expect any development there within the next couple of days. That's the latest look at your tropics update. I'm meteorologist Quaylin Murphy. Thanks for tuning in.